Let's talk about getting levels for Audible. All right, guys. So I've done throughout the years, I've done a bunch of podcasts and audiobooks and stuff. And I very recently finished a book and for a client and got it onto Audible. And I thought I was thinking about it and how there's not a ton of information out there about setting levels for Audible. So I figured I'd show you how I did it and how I got the levels to where they needed to be. That's it. I think that's my intro. I think that's basically the summary here. Getting this project done reminded me that this might be a good topic for a video. So with that said, I haven't done this very often and I have not done this a whole ton. So what I do is I refer to my notes whenever I do this. So I'm going to be referring to my notes throughout this video. And honestly, I might use this video as a kind of note system myself later on when I have to do it again. So let me find my notes. All right, so the first thing that I do is I try to get as close to the levels as I can get-ish in Pro Tools. But the thing about it is that Audible does not recommend anything in Pro Tools. So they don't have any specific plugin for metering that will get you exactly where you need to be. So the thing that I do since I work in Pro Tools is I try to get as close-ish as possible to the levels that Audible wants within Pro Tools. And the thing about this is Audible has requirements for levels, and what they use for their requirements, let me check my notes here, is peak levels below -3 decibels. So that's really easy to hit in Pro Tools, right? What we can do is we can look at our master fader and see what it says for that true peak value and make sure that it is below -3 decibels. And the other requirement that Audible has, which is a little weird if you ask me, is they require RMS values between -23 decibels and -18 decibels. And so RMS stands for root mean square. It's basically like you're getting an average over a certain period of time, but depending on the different plugin that you use, the different metering that you use, you might get a slightly different number. And it seems a little weird to me that they're using RMS instead of something like LUFS, like most people are using nowadays. But, to each the zone, I guess. So basically, what I tend to do is I will have my chapters broken up and I will use markers to show the beginning and the end of those chapters. And you have to be very specific with Audible about how much silence you have before and after each file, so each chapter. So you want to be very specific about where you place these markers. I'm super, super careful with it. So I always put a number at the beginning of my marker name so I know which one it is, so I can quickly jump to it with that period number period shortcut. So I'll go, for this one, it's 548 and 549. So I'll go period 548 period, and then I'll hold shift period 549 period. And now I've highlighted that chapter, this about the author chapter. And if you zoom way in, you can see I've been very precise about where I put my marker. It's just there's one sample there. I believe that's a sample. There's one sample there. It's the smallest unit you can have there. So that's it. So once I highlight that, I can then play back and check my levels. And what I have been using recently are these two meters on my master fader. So I believe these are on my master fader. Let me check here. Yeah, so here they are, master fader. I also had the HOFA meter on here. Didn't use it a ton, but I like to put it on there. It's like a tick that I have. So anyway, I was using this master meter and I was using this Waves PAS meters to get my values here. And if you set this to RMS, you can see the RMS value right here. It's kind of hard to read. I wish they had the text bigger. I don't know if there's a way to make the text bigger, but if you know a way to make the text bigger on this plugin, please let me know. I would love to know in the comments, honestly. It's really difficult to see. But anyway, you play the file through and see what the levels are, and then you can, tweak if you want to tweak it and, add compression, stuff like that. So basically, I'm getting levels as close as I can within Pro Tools, and then I'm shifting over into what Audible recommends, which is using Audacity. So I'm going to pause the screen capture just in case switching softwares bugs it out, and then I will meet you guys in Audacity. So what I'll do is I'll export MP3s out of Pro Tools, and I'll export them at the requirements for Audible. Oh, and before I get into this side of the whole thing, Audible recommends that you have about 0.8 seconds of silence at the beginning of each file and then about 3 seconds of silence at the end of each file. And that's kind of within the range that they give you. So that's a great number to go for. Just thought I'd share that. So I'm in Audacity. Audacity is a freeware, so you can go download it for free. You can use it for free. It's good software. I don't have a ton of reasons to use it besides this. This is the only reason that I use it. So you know, whatever, grain of salt, I guess. But yeah, Audacity is free. You can go find it online. You can download it and run it. So what I do is I have my audio files that I've exported out of Pro Tools already. So I'll have the high quality WAV files and I'll have the MP3 in the format they want. Audible does say that they can take a range of bit rates, but then they reject you if you pick the higher bit rate. I believe it's like 320. They just rejected us for having 320, even though their rules on their website don't say that that's a problem. So um, I recommend doing 192 because that's what gets through their system. So I'll have these MP3 files, and this is actually what I will import into Audacity and work with. So what I do is basically I take a file, and you can do this one at a time. I'll just show you one of them. And you take one and you drag it in. And now it's in Audacity. And what you want to do is click at the head of the file to select the file. And what you can do to find out your RMS value here is you go to Analyze, Contrast, and then you click this top Measure Selection button. And it'll tell you what your RMS value is here. So mine's negative 25.08. We want to be between negative 23 and negative 18. So that is low, as I knew and expected already. But then you can just go close. You just analyzed it. You're just looking at the values there. You weren't changing anything. All right, so it's low. So what we want to do is we want to bring that value up. So what I will do is I'll go Effect and then Compressor. So you got to keep in mind, right? We have two values we're going for. The true peak value, which is like the highest decibel value on that master fader that it hit at any given moment. So in any instant. And then we have RMS, which is a little more averaged out, right? So I have that true peak value pretty much where I want it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress this file a little bit so that it's taking down that loud stuff. So then I can bring everything up so it sounds a little bit louder overall without ruining my true peak value. So I want to bring it down just enough that I can then bring it back up and keep the true peak value where I want it and have brought up some of the low stuff overall. So that's the basic idea. If you're not super familiar with compressors, I would recommend looking into compressors a little bit more. Maybe I'll have a video about compressors out soon. But basically what I do is I will run the compression on the file and I'll be more careful with these values here. I might adjust the ratio depending on what I want to do. Make that slope a little bit higher or lower depending on how far away I am from where I want to be. And sometimes it's just trial and error until you get one of the files and then you remember kind of what the settings are for the rest of them and you do something very similar until you get what you want on the rest of them, right? So you just hit OK when you want to compress it and see how it took down my peaks. So my whole audio file went from like being wider to being tinier. That means it's quieter overall if everything else is held constant when we're looking at a waveform. Something that goes farther out from that center point on the vertical spectrum is going to be louder than something that's skinnier on that center point. So I've basically taken the loud stuff and squished it down. And now what I want to do is raise everything so that I can maintain my true peak and have brought everything up a little bit. So let me check my notes. Yes, I am in line with my notes. So then what I do is I go Effect and then Amplify. So I'm just using Effect Compressor, Effect Amplify. And so what I'm doing here is instead of setting a value using this top section, I'm going to set the new peak amplitude that I want. So I might do 3.1, 3.2. You basically want it to be below -3, right? And you'll notice as I adjusted this, it changed this top value here. So if I did 0, it adjusts it there. So I'm going to do -3.1, something close to -3 without being over -3. And then you just hit OK. You don't want to allow clipping. Clipping is a form of digital distortion, so do not do that. So then you just hit OK, and you'll notice this comes back up. So now it's been compressed and then brought back up, and now we can go analyze it again and see if we hit what we wanted to hit, right? So Analyze, Contrast, hit the top Measure Selection button here, and now I'm at -21.04 decibels, which is between -23 and -18. So I have hit the mark here. I know that my peak value is good because I just did that Amplify feature. And now my RMS is good as well. And so now I'm all good. Now I can just go to export it. So I still have the whole thing highlighted, right? And all I have to do is go File, Export as MP3 because that's what they want. That's what Audible wants. And what I'll do is I'll make a folder. So I already made my folder here. for my final Audacity files, and I will name it. I already have the file name how I want it here. And then I will make sure that it's at 192 kbps, so that's what they want. I want a constant bit rate, and I want my channel mode to be stereo in this example, because this audiobook does have some stereo spread. It has some music in it, so you can decide whether you want it to be mono or stereo depending on what the content is for the audiobook, right? So once you have all that set, I believe you can then just hit save. Let me double check my notes for you guys. Yeah, so constant bit rate, 192 for quality, and then stereo for channel mode. And then you just hit save, and it'll create that MP3 file for you. And now your chapter has the correct levels, and it is ready to go. And so you do that for each of your chapters for your book, and you should be ready to submit it to Audible, and you should get approval if you have followed this system. So let me know how it goes. Let me know if it works for you guys. I just follow notes whenever I do it. So not something that I'm doing daily, that's for sure. So that's it. That's what I've figured out so far. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I would appreciate all of that stuff. I have a ton more videos about audio engineering on my channel if you want to check that out. And I do have a Patreon. So it's patreon.com/CatoNoise. And my patrons get early release videos, access to additional content, stuff like that. We're on a Discord server hanging out, learning with each other, stuff, all that stuff. So if you feel so inclined, go check that out. And other than that, I come out with new videos every Wednesday. And thank you so much for hanging out. Okay. I don't know what else to say here. I guess if you're on my Patreon and you want me to send you guys these notes, let me know. I'll send them over to you. I'll type them up and send them to you. They're pretty short, but they help. I hope you guys are doing well. Who's going to NAMM? Is anyone going to NAMM? Let me know if you're going to NAMM in the comments below, and if you want to meet up or something. I'd be down. I'll be hanging out, walking around. Hopefully it's not too much of a zoo. It might be a zoo. I'm a little nervous. That's it. Yeah. Talk to you guys later. Bye.